Season 3 of House of the Dragon has come to an end, and with it, so too has any chance of Rhaenyra Targaryen being the hero of this show. While her heel turn wasn't as abrupt as, and was far better developed than, how Game of Thrones handled Daenerys' descent into villainy, it seems the Iron Throne truly does corrupt, physically or morally, every Targaryen who occupies it. And after the final moments of the Season 3 finale, we're left with more than a few burning questions about how Season 4 is going to wrap it all up. As Season 3 comes to a close, Rhaenyra has fully gone over to the dark side. She ultimately chooses to sacrifice her humanity in pursuit of power and to win the war against the Greens. Rhaenyra's breaking bad comes just as her foe Aegon's resurrection stuns the public, and his brother Aemond seeks to atone for coveting his brother's crown. Although neither brother can be considered a good guy now, this season has nevertheless revealed more layers of complexity to Aegon and Aemond, as well as a growing self-awareness for both of them. Featuring some major deaths and a whole lot of devastation, the House of the Dragon Season 3 finale leaves fans with a lot to think about over the next few years before the show returns for its fourth and final season. So, let's break it all down, including how the season finale differs from the show's source material, George R.R. Martin's Targaryen history book, Fire and Blood. Rhaenyra is incredibly high on her own Iron Throne supply by the time she arrives with her King's Guard at the Great Sept of Baelor, demanding that the High Septon finally anoint her in public. When he refuses her, as he previously did, she labels him a traitor and orders Alan of Hull to slay him right there on sacred ground. Rhaenyra convinces Alan to do it by reminding him that he has Valyrian blood and their gods are more powerful than those of the Faith of the Seven. Afterward, Rhaenyra, with her heir Joffrey and her guards and counselors at her side, addresses a crowd of small folk gathered outside the Great Sept. She reveals what has thus far been a Targaryen monarch's biggest secret: Aegon the Conqueror's prophecy about the great evil from the north that will one day attack the realm. She declares herself, Rhaenyra, the Chosen, and that only her line, and not the Hightower faction, can save Westeros from this looming danger. She even yells in High Valyrian, "I am the prince that was promised." It's unclear how the people will respond to her Chosen One proclamations, but the glance between Sir Torrhen Manderly and Grand Maester Orwyle suggests that they think she's gone loco, which certainly doesn't bode well for the Queen maintaining their loyalty in the series' homestretch. But, more importantly, you would think a monarch revealing to their subjects that there is a grave supernatural threat coming might have remained part of the historical record. Yet, by the time Game of Thrones happens a little over 160 years later, no one seems to remember a thing. Was that something the Mad King went on about too? Was it another reason why Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark rebelled? It doesn't seem so, and would be one hell of a retcon if it were. It should also be noted that Fire and Blood doesn't link Rhaenyra or her father to Aegon's prophecy at all. That's completely an invention of House of the Dragon. At some point then, either Rhaenyra's revelation or Aegon's prophecy was scrubbed from the record, or no one bothered to mention it. Even if most people dismissed it as the ravings of a mad person, you'd still expect history to make note of it. It will be interesting to see how Season 4 handles this.
You useless, base-born scum!
This is the biggest change the finale made from the book. In Fire and Blood, Dragon Seed Ulf the White betrays the Blacks, defecting to the Greens, where his dragon Silverwing lays waste to Rhaenyra's army and the town of Tumbleton. But in the book, Ulf is joined in his treachery by Hugh Hammer and his dragon Vermithor, with the duo going down in infamy as the Two Betrayers. In Fire and Blood, Ulf and Hugh are simply greedy and want power and riches for themselves. In the show, Ulf was in line to get his wish until Ormond Hightower beat him even worse than Daemon did. The show's Ulf seems to realize he doesn't need to serve either side since he has a dragon of his own. That certainly spells trouble for both warring parties in the final season. While only Ulf betrays the Blacks in the show and is solely responsible for destroying Tumbleton, there's still reason to believe that Hugh Hammer will join him in betraying Rhaenyra next season. With his wife Cat slain by the Queen's army, Hugh has no incentive to stay loyal now. The show will almost certainly still give fans the two betrayers, just not at the same time.
But you are not to die until you open the gate.
Gates open, then die.
With the aforementioned exception of only having one betrayer burn Tumbleton, the battle itself is relatively faithful to how it's described in the book, insofar as the complete destruction visited upon the market town. The show invents Ormond Hightower placing children on the battlements and keeps the broad strokes of his final duel with Roddy the Ruined, but has him hack off the Northman's arm instead of it being his cousin Sir Brynden Hightower doing it. The show adds the hilarious bit where Roddy's blood sprays into Ormond's mouth. It also invents Robbie stabbing Ormond through the butthole and having Ulf's dragon kill them both. The book sees Roddy slay both Ormond and Brynden Hightower, the latter of whom isn't in the show, but whose basic function is given to Gwaine Hightower instead. Speaking of Gwaine, the whole bargain he and Darren try to strike with Daemon about dividing the kingdom is actually an exchange in the book made by Alicent to Rhaenyra, one which also fails.
I am to inform you that your services here are at an end.
Given that she was truly terrible as Rhaenyra's Master of Whisperers, there is a lengthy list of failures on the job, Lady Mysaria getting fired really shouldn't have come as a total shocker. She tried playing Rhaenyra against her husband Daemon, but just as Alicent warned her, those two are ride or die. Once Rhaenyra accepted that Daemon's way of dealing with Tumbleton and the Hightowers was the only viable course of action, she simply couldn't risk Mysaria trying to keep messing with her head. With Mysaria escaping from her escort in time to witness Rhaenyra's big speech in front of the Great Sept, where she calls herself the People's Protector, it would seem that Lady Misery will find a way to influence the masses against Rhaenyra in the final season. Perhaps she will use her network to help spread word about the Shepherd. Poor Helaena won't get her dream life in the country with her kids and chickens. After a warning from Mysaria that Helaena and the baby she's carrying will never be free, the deposed queen is returned to her captivity in Maegor's Holdfast. There, in the closing moments of the season finale, Helaena finishes weaving her tapestry, leaving it on the sill of the open window. Helaena has leapt to her death, her lifeless body seen impaled on the iron spikes below. King Tommen also leapt to his death from Maegor's Holdfast in Game of Thrones. Fire and Blood also has Helaena plunged to her death from Maegor's Holdfast. The book's unreliable sources suggest Helaena, devastated by the recent murder of her son Maelor, committed suicide. Others claim she was, like her young son Jaehaerys, murdered on the orders of Rhaenyra, a rumor that takes hold among the masses and further enrages them against their queen. Perhaps House of the Dragon will see Mysaria help spread such nasty rumors to get back at Rhaenyra for firing her. The look on Rhaenyra's face after finding Helena's tapestry, which shows a mighty Rhaenyra sitting on the Iron Throne surrounded by fire and her dragon, suggests she finally got the confirmation of her destiny that she was clamoring for all season. But Rhaenyra no longer has a dreamer around that can see the future, so maybe she couldn't feel overly confident that her victory is assured. The season finale also seems to troll George R.R. Martin when all those butterflies take flight after Helena's death. The author infamously complained in a 2024 blog post that showrunner Ryan Condal's deviations from the source material would create a butterfly effect for the rest of the series, adding that more toxic butterflies were ahead for the show's final 2 seasons. Sure, we had that curious moment earlier this season where Helaena commented about a caterpillar appearing out of season, and remember, caterpillars turn into butterflies, but I feel like Condal, who co-wrote this episode, was definitely needling Martin with all those butterflies, especially since Martin's blog post spoiled that Helaena would die in season 3 for no particular reason. There is no fresh horror, no triggering event to overwhelm the fragile young queen.
When Dragon Balerion burned this place, it was to end Lord Harren's line. But his line was not so easily ended.
Given that Fire and Blood never revealed the truth, fans have long wondered what the deal was with Harrenhal's resident goth girl, Alice Rivers. Was she really a witch, as some have speculated? Well, it turns out she did indeed dabble in darkness, which she says has left her even more cursed than her boyfriend Aemon claims he is. They really are made for each other. House of the Dragons, Alice is the unnamed wife of Harren the Black, the wicked king who built Harrenhal on forced labor and who, along with his 4 sons, perished there when Aegon the Conqueror's dragon Balerion, the Black Dread, burned the castle a century earlier. Fire and Blood said Harren had no daughters, so this would make Alice his wife in order for the timing to work. Alice tells Aemond of a mother who found herself cursed after turning to older cures trying to save her son, who was left horrifically burned by Balerion. She uncovered incantations more ancient than the land she treated with things that lived in the forest. Alice reveals, but nothing could undo what the dragon fire had done to her boy. After he died, she tried to kill herself, and that's when she realized she was cursed, trapped at Harrenhal forever. She was left with nothing, stripped of her name, her title, her castle, and doomed to serve every lowly lord who came to run Harrenhal in the ensuing 100 years. Alice and Aemond seem poised for a wonderfully wicked future together when his brother Aegon II and his dragon Sunfire arrive at Harrenhal. Aemond admits to his sins and is ready to die for trying to kill his brother, but is spared, for now, because Aegon wants his help defeating Rhaenyra. But first, they have to find Aemond's dragon, Vhagar, whose disappearance remains one of the season's biggest unanswered questions.
Insolent child. Should not blame you for it, truly. Insolence runs in your blood.
If there's one thing Queen Rhaenyra excels at, it's alienating her allies. First, she lost her hand, Corlys Velaryon, by choosing not to legitimize his bastard sons, Alan and Adam. Then she fires Mysaria and basically tells Baela tough when the latter asks what the rescue plan is for her grandpa Corlys. We find out later that Baela had been grounded and confined to the Red Keep for being insolent to Rhaenyra. Baela and her sister Rhaena have precious few reasons now to remain loyal to the queen outside of allegiance to their dad Daemon. Baela's plight also doesn't seem to upset her new beau Alan much. Seriously, did Baela and Alan just hook up that one time, or are they a couple now? They end up married in the book. While Alan is firmly on Rhaenyra's side, he killed Westeros' version of the Pope, for Christ's sake, his brother Adam seems disturbed by the queen's recent behavior and his brother's rapid rise in her service while their dad lingers in captivity. Could Adam defect in Season 4? And if so, would any attempt on Adam's life drive Alan away from Rhaenyra? We shall see. Despite feeling that she's the gods' chosen victor, Rhaenyra definitely finds herself on thin ice by the end of Season 3. She's driven away key allies. Aegon is back in action, and the destruction of Tumbleton and the murder of the High Septon will likely only further turn the people against her. We'll have to wait a couple of years to find out if the Dance of Dragons ends the same way in the House of the Dragon as it does in Fire and Blood, or if there are any more toxic butterflies on the way to switch things up. Until then, keep it locked to IGN for all things from Westeros.